Okay, so the last video we talked about how to do the pop-up message to show the variable values or how to get the values of the variables. And in this video, I want to show you how to set the value of the variables inside of .NET. So let's do this. I'm going to just use that same package that we got through with, and I'm going to reverse it. So we started with VB in the last video. I'm going to do C# in this video first. So just to run this and show you what we had at the end, in case you didn't watch the C# part, all it was the same pop-up we did in VB, just showing the value. So what we can do, instead of just doing a pop-up, is I'm going to take this out. So C#, I'm going to rename this one report. Okay. And actually, I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to go back up there. I'll keep it real world. I really wouldn't do two tasks for this. So what I'm actually going to do now is I want to increment the value of the counter by 1, or the value of the variable. So if I want to change the variable, I need to move it to the read write. Okay, so I can really just cut and paste right here. Now I'm actually going to modify the value of the variable in C# code. So I then go to my edit script, and it's simple. I mean, really it is. There's not a whole lot to it. You're still going to use this same logic that's in the documentation. You're just going to put that on the left side of an equality sign. So I copy, and I'll say this: prior to change, the value of the number of rows is, and then let's change it equals that plus 1. Okay. And then I'm just going to copy the same message here and say after the change, the value is this. Okay. Now you'll see my little red squiggly, the evil red squiggly. And you can see that it says, hey, that's an object and this is an int. Well, I can either do implicit casting, I can do this. I could say easiest way to do it is just to cast it just like this. So int, force this to be an integer value and add 1 to it. It's the easiest way to do this. I'm telling the object that, hey, you are of a type int, and I'm adding 1. So all we're doing is just saying set the value equal to this. And I need to match. This needs to be an integer output because remember this value is int 32. Cool. Let's run it. We should get 2 pop-ups. The value prior to the change is 13 and the value after the change is 14. So prior to the change the value is 13. After the change the value is 14. Getting and setting. Not too challenging, right? Okay, really, I mean, that's it. Really not too difficult to work with here. We've got a whole chapter in Chapter 7 dealing with .NET, and we're going to deal with lots and lots of variables in that. So I'm going to leave that for now. So if you only wanted to learn the C# side of things, you can safely close this video and go to the next one. I'm going to repeat that same bit of information for those in VB. And if you know both VB and C#, then you probably don't need to watch the rest either. Okay, so C# is done. I do these, I know it kind of looks silly, but I do it so that if somebody's kind of scanning through the video, that catches their attention and they say, oh, well, he's finished. Now I'll come back to VB. Okay, so let's talk about how to get and set in Visual Basic. So I double click over here, and what I want to do is I want to actually be able to change the value of the number of rows variable. So I want to increment it by 1, for example. So I will move it from the read-only variables, and how come you didn't cut? And I'll just make this a read-write variable. Okay. And once I do that, I go edit my script. And it's very, very simple to do this. Right here, you saw us doing this in the last video. All you have to do is use this syntax. So let's do this. We're going to increment it by 1. So I will say prior to change, the value of the number of rows, I'll minimize this, is, and then we'll make the change, and then we'll report after the change. We'll report the value of our variable. Okay, so now we need to make the change. So DTF, I could just copy and paste, right? Copy and paste, number of rows, and I just put it on the left side of the equality symbol. That's the assignment operator now, right? So I'm simply assigning, oh gosh, wow, awesome. The value, I could say it equals 14 if I wanted to. Or I could increment it by 1. I could say plus equal 1, or I could say plus 1. And so now I'm simply increasing the value by 1. And when we close out of here, let me come over here and execute this. And we see the value prior to the change was 13. After the change, it was 14. We didn't have to do any casts. We didn't have to do anything too fancy. It was fairly simple to do. So really not a whole lot to getting and setting here in Visual Basic or C#. Both are fairly simple to work with, just on the left side of the assignment operator.